Onionhead and
Welcome everybody here back to The Missing Link. Today we're excited to talk with someone that's a researcher, he's survivor of MK Ultra programming, and an expert in the fields of synthetic biology, counterintelligence techniques, and the Havana syndrome. Welcome to The Missing Link Live, Andrew Coleman, aka Onionhead, and I think I know why that's your nickname.
Oh, because my bald head. Yeah, my sister was cutting an onion one day and she held it up and she goes, "Hey, it looks like you." And ever since then, I was like, "That's a great name for this Rumble channel I just started." So
Beautiful. So why don't you start off with telling us about yourself, your journey, a little bit about your background, your education, what part of the world you grew up in, what part of the world you're in now, if you like disclosing that information, what you know about your MK Ultra programming, biology, counterintelligence, Havana syndrome, anything that you wanted to share about your, journey with our audience here today, especially if they may be hearing you here for the first time.
okay, yeah, you can find my channel on Rumble, and it's Onionhead Andrew for greater detail on anything we talk about, because there's so much here that it would be hard to succinctly, even in this hour or 2 hours that we talk, it'd be hard to talk about all of it. But I was born in Portland, Oregon, United States. I live currently in Vancouver, Washington, just right across the Columbia River, and I was born into a regular family like anyone else, and a family member of mine was this is hard to talk about, was a finder. And what I mean by that was they were secretly finding children to arrange for elites and security apparatus personnel to have sex with. Part of the pedophilia network. Now, that's true of about every county in the United States of America of any size, probably every county. I don't know that for sure. And most areas of Canada also. Western Europe, I know, is plagued with this too. But I was, I'll just say it. I was raped early through that family member arranging for other people to do pedophilia against me. This is before my memories. Is very early on. It's hard to piece this together when you go through it, because oftentimes you're drugged and you're a very small child. Anyways,
Trauma blocks out those memories to protect you from some of the horrific things that have happened to you.
Yeah, well, that's how you piece it together, really, is that you've got these pockets of memories that you don't have, and then other things around that, and then you find more about these people that arrange these things in your life. And that's basically how I figured it out. It stopped for me. It continued for other people in my family. And I don't think I'm not at the place to disclose the other people in my family, so I'm just going to leave it there. But needless to say, it happened to multiple people in my family. Well, so in that process, this is what happens when you get introduced as a child. That's MK Ultra in a more modern sense, right? I mean, there's always a pedophilia tie to it, because you split the child's brain and you compartmentalize them. But as time went on, I was in a list, right, of people that had this happen to them that were potential candidates for other things later on, other things that the NSA, the FBI, DARPA, anybody, that had anything that wanted to do anything, really. And that's how it works. Once you're tagged, you're tagged. And because they've already done work on you, they've already have a profile on you, that there's triggers they're trying to install, so forth, so forth, so forth. And when I was about, 23, I came across someone in my life completely unrelated to that. And through happenstance, they nominated me for the brain to computer interface experimentation. And the reason they did that, I know, is completely unrelated. I can laugh about it now because I'm looking, that was 2014. They signed me up for it. but there was a nomination. It had to go through the process to be approved, because you're talking about every MK Ultra person has got millions and millions and millions of dollars spent on them. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They're just printing money to do these things to people, and they're doing it for a variety of reasons. But
This is the black budget stuff that when they're
yeah,
talking about when they, money's being missing and hidden money. So this is essentially black budget ops, and this is part of the black budget ops that you're talking about, where many of this missing money goes.
100%, 100%. And the NSA is the main agency in United States behind that. And they're also facilitating that throughout all the NATO countries. But China and Russia are also involved in these same experiments. And they're all working together at that top level. That's where the triple agents come in. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. That's what I mean. There's so much that we could talk about, because eventually I traveled. And when I traveled, I went to Bolivia, Nicaragua. I went to these places that were outside the NATO apparatus, and I dealt with these Chinese and these Russians and these Israelis that were doing the exact same thing, that picked up my contract. And that was back in 2022. So yeah, this conversation can get very, very hot very quickly, and we can get into some really deep stuff here. But this person had military experience, and my best friend at the time, foolishly, I was 23, was a girl. And this girl, she had this person in her life, right? And he was a man. And so he put me on the list, or nominated me, because of his military experience. He had already done this stuff overseas, right? That's a lot of the military operations are doing these MK Ultra experiments. Like in Afghanistan, they were doing a whole bunch of them. I know personally people that reach out to me that had these same exact experiences in Afghanistan during the Afghanistan war. So I'm not just saying this, but Korea, pick your area, right? Pick your area the U.S. military is at, and the Canadian military, whole NATO apparatus is involved in this. It's not just the U.S. military. But he nominated me for that because of his exposure to it, having participated in it. And it was also a way to get me out of that circle of influence, right? And that's how a lot of these military guys think about. They don't think about really what they're doing. They just think about that they've done it before. It's familiar. They have the contacts, whatever, so forth, so forth. There's another tie to that we could talk about later. But at that point, that was, I think, he nominated me. I don't know for sure, but sometime around September, October of 2014. By December of 2014, going into 2015, I was part of this targeted individuals. I'm sure you've heard of that. Brain to computer interface neural weapons experimentation. And that in turn is a beta test. And this beta test, it's an ongoing beta test, started in roughly 1994, 1996. And it's got to do with brain to computer interfaces and heavy metal particulate and synthetic biology filaments. All right. Also called Morgellons, pre the medical experimentations. That's what, since that point, that's what people called it, researchers, independent researchers. Since 2020, we've been Fifth Column, that Spanish organization that publishes all their findings of the medical experimentations and whatnot. They show the same synthetic biology, or not, maybe not the same, but very, very same, very close, filaments that have been in the chemtrails provenly for the last 25 years in the medical experimentations.
I
Right?
think they were the first ones that linked to graphene to what could possibly be inside of those stuff that's being injected.
Yes, and the graphene is the building block of the nanomachinery that's in most everyone at this point because of the chemtrails. This started in 1996. And the target.
It's interesting you say that, because when we had Jim Lee from Climate Viewer on here, they said that in 1996 is when they changed the jet fuel from JP4 to JP8, and it was causing problems in all of the military engines because of all the gunk that was added in there, that they had to work all the machinery and fix and like renew engines and all of these jet planes and all of these military stuff because of all these additives that were causing havoc on the engines. And that was in 1996 when they changed that jet fuel to JP8.
Yeah, and these agreements go back to the 70s. This is all Club of Rome stuff, or Council of Rome, whatever, one of those think tanks. But it took them 20 something years to get to 1996. And in 1994, interestingly, also all the big conspiracy theorists of their day, like Bill Cooper and whatnot, were also talking about this. Like, this is the year it's happening. So it seems like that was a huge year in world history. But 94, the DOJ sets up all of these legislation, basically, that they can get away with experimenting on anyone in the United States of America. Citizen, prisoner, immigrant, doesn't matter. They can do it. And basically,
they were doing it before that, but that's when they officially made it legal for them to do that. Because I know the Boston building spray was, pre that and things. So they were actually experimenting the Tuskegee projects, like, things they were doing it, but it wasn't legal at that time.
Yeah, after that point, after 94, it was legal. So they put all their ducks in a row. And who is they, right? They is these transnational group of people that are mostly organized out of Switzerland, southern Germany, and Italy, right?
The criminal syndicate.
That's where it originates from. It's also called the black nobility because that's what they are. They're nobles. 150 years ago, they had crowns and they were dukes and stuff like that. Now they own corporations. That's a lot of people miss that tie. The corporate families are the royal families. But again, you learn about all this when you're in a situation like mine and you travel and you start to recognize that everywhere you go, you're looking at the same flags and the same power structure with just different faces. But either way, in 96 is when it started. You can go to Clifford Carnicom on carnicomeinstitute.org if you haven't heard of it. And he's got all the filaments raining down on these chemtrails since 1998. So there's proof of everything I'm saying. And on Onionhead Andrew Rumble channel, I've got this all sourced. So I'm not just saying this. I know it sounds like somebody would just be saying this, except specifically someone in my position that would be facing such a traumatic upbringing and be fighting such a traumatic battle on a regular basis. But all of this can be sourced. And so what this targeted individual thing really is, and you'll see a lot of it talk on the internet, and most of what you see is fake. 9 out of 10 people are disinformation. So be very careful about this. And there's a reason for that, because this is the Oppenheimer project of the day. How do you grow this nano machinery in someone as covertly as possible without killing them to put them on the internet of bodies, right? Or the internet of bio nano things, or the internet of everything? Whatever terminology you want to use, that's what this is all coming back to. So this is rising technocracy. This is the big plan. This is what the Bible talked about with the mixing of iron and clay. This has been they've been working for this for a very long time. Okay.
Is this the website?
Yes, that's the website. Carnicomeinstitute.org proves that the filaments, the same filaments that are in the medical experimentations as of 2020 or 2021, whenever they rolled that out, we're in the chemtrails going back to at least 1998. And maybe before that, probably before that, but in limited experimentations. All right. So this whole thing, right, to move outside of my story, you can ask me questions if you want. I just, everybody's heard a sob story before, you know what I mean? Especially on your channel. You've got people like me that have talked much about being targeted by the NSA or the FBI and what that entails, like people breaking into your house. That's the counterintelligence, right? And techniques is basically how do you stop someone from acquiring intelligence about anything, any given thing? And that could be once you start doing counterintelligence against someone, that could literally be anything, right? So they could break in your house, poison your food. They could take a lug nut off your car. It just goes on and on and on. And I could talk about that if you want, But I think the more important thing for what's happening right now is what I've learned surviving this weapon system. And what this weapon system is it's nanomachinery, synthetic biology that forms nanomachinery in your body. It's heavy metal particulate in the food, air, and water. I mean, how much videos have we seen of that recently? Magnetic meat, rubbery fruit. It's all the same thing, right? It's the material that the nano needs to build itself. That's why it's in the food supply now, especially after 2020.
Is this the biodigital convergence where they're
Yes,
looking to amalgamate people with machinery, and they're doing it by bombarding the bodies with heavy metals through the food,
100%.
air, and the water, and then some of these heavy metals now has self-assembling technology,
Yeah.
which it actually starts to, be able to be controlled by an outer source,
Directed energy
through the
weapons.
internet of the things,
Yeah.
and hence they want to be able to control people, not only their thoughts, but maybe can turn them off or get them to do things like
Yeah.
voice to skull,
Yeah.
and different technologies that they do to get people to do things that they, may not want to do.
Yeah, through subliminals mostly. And that's where the AI, the singularity that these bad actors that are pretending to be good actors are talking about, they're warning us about. They're always saying AI is going to be dangerous in the near future. It's because they're plugging all of this information into AI to make everyone actively targeted by AI, right? Using this weapons platform. And the weapons platform is this. It's as simple as this. Nanomachinery, like you were just talking about, the filaments, the self-assembling particles, the graphene and other heavy metals and synthetic heavy metal compounds that's in the food and the air and the water now. It's almost in everything. And the directed energy weapons that have been erected all around us, from ULF, ultra low frequency, extremely low frequency, all the way up to 5G and probably beyond that, right? We just don't know. 5G being millimeter wave being a very small band, right? That's a very low or a very tight wavelength would be the better way to say it. But the extremely low frequency, that's HARP, that's been going on since the 80s, right? And before that, and that those wavelengths are like 50 feet large. You can't block that. And before that, they had ultra low frequency, which are like 30-foot waves. And that's going back to like 1930 or 1940. So when I say directed energy weapons, I'm talking about the old classic model that's been utilized for a long time now and the brand new stuff. It's all being utilized together. And they're automating it as best as they can with AI. But there's a gap. And the gap is that when they have a team of contractors, FBI contractors primarily here in the United States, up there they are Royal Mountie contractors.
RCMP and CSIS are the kind of the agencies that are up in Canada.
Yeah, and they hire contractors, and those contractors operate like secret police. They're human traffickers / secret police. This is how they take out people. This is how they give them heart attacks. This is how turbo cancers, chronic illnesses. It's through this weapons platform. Because, like you were saying earlier, the directed energy weapons can order the nanomachinery and the heavy metal compounds. All right. So you can get this nanomachinery to grow in specific areas of inflammation in specific people at specific times. And that's where you need the contractors as of right now. You need to have these NSA trained people on the scene, pretty close to the person they're going after, whether it's someone like me or a celebrity or anything in between, because they go after everybody for any reason. And literally any reason. The reasons would blow your mind. The people I've talked to that are in my position, but are different than me, and the reasons they got put into these programs. This is modern MK Ultra, but it's also a kill program. The reasons they've been put into this are so wild and varied, it would blow your mind. But I lost the train of thought. You remember where I was at? There's so much.
Yeah, the directed energy weapons, targeting the people you were mentioning, with these nanobots.
Well, the nanomachinery, nanobots are another layer, but the directed, the AI, how AI is, that's what they're trying to build to. And that's what the beta test of the targeted individuals program is. It's to build the data sets, the the ledgers to send to AI so the AI can learn how to target people without the human contractors.
Is that why they're making a digital twin of everybody so that they can practice or they can see what they need to target on this digital twin, and then they can actually use that information that AI has made a copy of someone on how to specifically target everybody if they've actually got a synthetic copy of them?
That's exactly it. And just interestingly, that Jordan Peele movie, oh geez, it was the not Get Out, but it was the other one, the doppelgangers. It's about that. It's a metaphor for that. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's not a great movie, but when I was watching, I was like, oh, that's what he's talking about. But the StintNet World Simulation, I believe, was Dr. Alan Chatverty was the guy that took it from the military to the public at Purdue University, Indiana. You can, if you just follow his line of research, it'll bring you right into DARPA, right into the N-cubed neurotech experiments. That's the public side of what I'm talking about.
Us was the movie.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's the one they talk about. There's like an underworld, and these doppelgangers are trying to come out of it and take the place of the real people. That's all a metaphor for this StintNet World Simulation stuff that you were just talking about. Okay, so the targeted individual thing is the beta program to bring these data sets of torture and murder into AI learning so that it can be utilized on the public. What's going on right now is a global depopulation, right? So they've already kicked this thing off. For some reason, they fired the starting gun before they should have. I don't know why. We could sit here and guess and talk about, Revelation and the apocalypse that looks like we're living through. Like
My guess why was when we saw people dropping first in the streets, in the beginning of January, February of 2020, and they showed all the people dropping. My first public intuition told me that they lit up these towers and that people were dropping in the streets and they needed to cover it up by not having their golden goose technology being the culprit behind these people's deaths. And that's why they had to roll this whole bioweapon out, because they couldn't have people thinking that technology could be harming them, like, potentially possible. So that was my guess as to why.
That's a pretty good guess because the white fibrous clots kind of back you up on that. Have you followed that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're actually having a military captain, I believe Thomas, tomorrow. He's going to be actually talking. He's got actually videos and actually detailed stuff. Thomas Haviland, which is a military veteran, and he's coming tomorrow on the Missing Link Live to talk about these fibrous clots from these morticians and things, that stuff that they've been pulling out. So that's going to be a fascinating interview tomorrow, which is going to just kind of segue from what we're talking about.
Those are polymers. Those polymers are the nanomachinery assembling. This isn't just my opinion. You can easily find the source for this. Carnicominstitute.org is the easiest way, but Dr. Anna Mihalcea, I always say her name wrong, she's got the dark field work too, dark field microscopy work. And basically these synthetic biology filaments are like a tube inside of a tube. Like imagine a straw with a straw inside of it. And if you didn't take the medical experimentation, what's happening to you is you're breathing it, it's getting in your gastrointestinal, and it's parasiting your upper and lower intestinal tract. And as it parasites your upper and lower intestinal tract, it breaks apart that straw inside that straw. And it starts forming, at the very beginning, it's synthetic biology, meaning it's a lab-made parasite, right? And that gives it the DNA of that lab-made parasite, gives it the ability to order the graphene that you're eating, drinking, and breathing. And it's not just graphene, it's the other heavy metal compounds too. And over time, if you're not actively being targeted, that's just accruing as plaque, It's like it's a biofilm is what it is, and plaque's a biofilm, like the plaque on your teeth. It's the same idea. It's a smorgasbord. I don't know the right words to say. It's a hardening and a community of bacteria that form around the synthetic biology, and the synthetic biology itself contains some, right? And as that happens, the synthetic biology is also ordering the materials that it gets through your gastrointestinal tract to make these polymers. These polymers are reinforcing the plaque, the biofilm, and over time, that biofilm plaque is forming these clots, wherever they're at. In children, they form in the heart mostly. That's where the heart attacks are happening with the children, because the body is children's bodies in general have a lot less inflammation than adults, so they're under a greater compression, and in general, this compression keeps it from sticking in any one place, because the material of our body. I know this is a lot.
No, this is great.
Okay, good, because there's so much here. Please ask questions if I jump around too much.
No, you're doing great.
The material of our body is very tightly wound. Okay, like just generally speaking, the sinew, ligaments, the muscle, the flesh of your body is very strongly put together. And to use an antidote, if you, for example, and it's true of all living things that are mammals, and or reptiles too, probably, whatever. But if you cut the throat of a chicken, blood spurts out, right? So, and it's not just blood. Like if somebody dies, what's the first thing that happens? They poop and pee themselves, right? So your body is under this incredible hydraulic compression. And that hydraulic compression, more or less, I mean, we could get into more specific about that, is keeping you healthy, right? It's providing the necessary functions to eliminate toxins from the inside out. Because if you think about it, really, you've got a cavity from your mouth to your butt, and then you eat stuff, you process it, and then you basically just push it out again, right? That's all you're doing repetitively. So this internal compression keeps the the synthetic biology nanomachinery from accruing in most places. Okay, so the healthier you are in general, the better homeostasis you're in, the harder the nanomachinery is it's going to be for it to stick to your body any given place. This is also why they are so dead set on poisoning the food and the air and the water, right? Because keeping you in an inflamed state allows the nanomachinery to work better. And you could replace the word inflamed with magnetic, right? Because in this conversation, they're synonymous. Inflamed is magnetic. So in different demographics, you're going to have the nanomachinery cause different chronic illnesses and deaths, different ways, right? So old people are going to get clots all over their body, right? Their bodies are just older and they're more inflamed, right? Middle-aged people are going to have the inflammation, the chronic illnesses they already have become death, turbo cancers, right? You're seeing the turbo cancers in middle-aged people and some younger people too. But the youngest people are going to have the inflammation accrue in their heart, because it's going to stay in their blood until their kidneys can process it out. And as it circulates in their system over and over through their heart, the damage is going to be done on one of the ventricles. I'm not a heart doctor. I don't know exactly how that works, but
it would be accumulating probably in the heart is where it would be accumulating, and that's the problem with some of these metals, maybe accumulation there, and that's hence why, because the heart is a pump, so it pumps everything throughout the body, so it maybe is getting stuck inside the heart trying to pump it through, but the heart's not letting it go through, so maybe there's just an accumulation of these metals in the heart, hence why people are having these heart attacks.
It's going to accumulate somewhere if it's not eliminated. And if you're not in good homeostasis, and children, what do children do? They're always running, right? If you've got any children in your life, what are they always doing? Running from place to place, right? And not only that, but teenagers, what are they doing? They're playing sports, right? So, and what do we see, right? What were all the people, and still are, going down that are young? They're athletes. 9 out of 10 of them are athletes. They're all like, you always hear this high school kid football star, soccer player, whatever. You see, people that run the most, people that work the most, right? And because their body's under that compression, that internal compression that forces it out, if the nanomachinery accumulates anywhere else, it's staying in these blood cavities, or excuse me, these vessels, these arteries, veins, so forth. But that's just one element of these deaths, right? It's happening across the demographic. So the global depopulation program has already started.
Keep that in your mind, the global depopulation. We have Kim Green here from our Facebook says, my dad is 94 and has been a targeted individual since August of 2020. So just after they started to roll out the towers, they noticed at the beginning of this whole first year of the lockdown, what everything was locked down except for what? 5G tower installers. Hence why more people were feeling symptoms, more people were getting sick, is because of all of this added radiation. But she says, voice to skull, he understands what they are doing to him, and he's a very strong-minded individual. And then she also says, my husband was also in Mexico and came back into Canada in June of 2022, and within 24 hours committed suicide. He was experiencing terrible anxiety. He was very quiet and not himself. I believe he was targeted as well. So
yeah, when they go after one person, they go after the family. Hey, Kim Green, go check out Onionhead Andrew, and my contact info is there. So if you have any questions, you want to reach out, we can talk about solutions, because I've got hundreds of solutions for this. That's why I sent you that introduction that said I was an expert at this, because I'm an expert at surviving this. More accurately, I didn't build these weapons. I've just been surviving it for so long. And it's been, coming up on, this is the 10th year or 11th year or whatever. It's been 10 years. It's coming up on the 11th year of going through this. And they've tried to kill me with these weapon systems for a long time. But about her husband, real quick before I forget, if you're not aware you're being targeted and you're being influenced with these subliminals and these heavy metal particulates, right, then you're going to find yourself in outcomes that aren't characteristic of your personality and the person that you are in general. Many people I'm aware of have committed suicide in the same way.
Because they think they're going crazy, because they have no idea why the heck they're getting these thoughts, why this is happening to them, what is actually going on, why am I feeling this way? And people think it must be them, and they want to not have this energy or whatever's going on with them affect their family, so they think probably that it's better for them to take their own life, so they're not doing whatever it is that's going on inside of them and harming their own family or whatever it is that they're being targeted at, by what it sounds to me.
So when they go after anyone, whether it's someone like me that's in the position, or it's someone that's connected to me, like a family member or a friend or whatever, they spend a long time, 6 months to a year, researching, building a profile, and tailoring the neural weapons to drive specific outcomes in that person. That's what targeted individuals are going through. So they're going through the future of what's happening right now. So there's a passive and there's an active targeting system, and everyone's being passively targeted with this weapon system. And again, it's nanomachinery, heavy metal particulate, and directed energy weapons. Everyone's being passively targeted with it. And that's why I call the global depopulation program. The people that are being actively targeted with it are in that quote, targeted individual brain to computer interface experimentations, torture, maim, murder, right? But either way, okay, so, and just jump in, ask me, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just, we had here, someone said, Stephen Neville from our Rumble channel said, no depopulation in India. They've overtaken China. So what's your thoughts on other places that keep on, their population is more exploding, opposed to places like these NATO countries, North America, which it seems like there's a big population decline. Do you think that there's a depopulation everywhere, and they're just going to deal with them later? Or do you think that some places are being depopulated while others are populations are being allowed to keep growing?
I think it's just a matter of time. Like you were saying, it's just they're going to get to people when they get to people. And this is what I saw when I traveled too. The poisoning, the chemtrailing, everything was the worst in the United States by far. And the amount of people on the ground involved in this, building these interfaces and whatnot to feed the ledgers for the AI are the most intense in Western Europe, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the NATO countries. But that's not saying in China, they're definitely building this, right? And you can just, the amount of MK people in China is insane. They've got a stabbing every other day. They have a special name for it. It's like crime against society or something like that. And it's when these men usually, not always, but they stab just as many people as they can. And if you look at any one of those people, they have all the telltale signs of a quote targeted individual here. And like a famous targeted individual here would be Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland shooter. You remember a few years ago down in Florida?
Yeah.
He was 100% a targeted individual. He literally, I don't even think he did the shooting personally, but regardless, when they picked him up afterwards, he was mind controlled. The first thing he started talking about was that the devil was talking to him and the devil was telling him to do all these bad things. And a lot of these Chinese stabbers are saying the same thing. So it's just a matter of time. If it's not in your country, it will be if this isn't stopped. We're looking at the old world order rebranding into this new structure, right? So they're not, and it's a global system. They're not going to give up on any one place. And I guess this would be a good segue to talk about what happened when I traveled.
Sure.
But yeah, we can get to some of the solutions a little bit after this, because this is pretty interesting and people want to know. So I got this contract on me here. Anywhere I go in the United States, there's going to be teams of contractors following me. They are getting paid very well to do so. It's not because I'm important, although I guess I am because of the system or whatever. It's because the system is being built. The way I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday. The way I think about it is if you escaped prison with 1 day left on your prison sentence, right, anywhere in the world, what would happen, right? They would send the military after you eventually. They would send everybody after you. In the United States, there'd be SWAT teams, everything you could imagine, helicopters. Even if you just had 1 day left, the next day you were going to be set free, right? Which goes to show you it's the fact that you broke out of prison that's important. It's not who you are, right? And that was my case traveling. I went to Mexico, the Cancun area. That's the first place I went with this contract on me. The first peoples I dealt with were Israelis and Mexican American dual nationals. I stayed at a hostel in what was it, Puerto Morales? Yeah, Puerto Morales. It's a small city outside of Cancun, and it's like right next to it is part of the world's most visited vacation spot there at that beach. And there, all of a sudden, there was teams of Israelis. And I went from having the FBI contractors, NSA contractors here to teams of Israelis, just Israeli after Israeli after Israeli. And they're such a cocky people, right? And I got nothing against Jewish people. That has nothing to do with Jewish people. I'm talking specifically about Israelis. They would come up to me and basically, they'd want to know everything about me. They'd ask me a question and they'd get in my face and they'd get creepy, right? And they would tell me things about my life that they shouldn't know, which is a common counterintelligence spook tactic, right? That's why they call these people spooks, because they want to put you in a fear state. They want to spook you. So when I was in Puerto Morales, all of a sudden I had these Israeli teams. And when I mean teams, I mean like literally 5 to 30 people. And they were all 22 to 30, right? So straight out of the IDF, because they have a mandatory term, straight into some Secret Service corporation job where they travel the world and do this to people. Okay. I at that place in Puerto Morales, I was interfacing with 2 other targeted individuals. We had plans to build Tesla technology to deprogram this nanomachinery. I've already figured that out, by the way. That's what I was going to talk about before we got into the traveling. We can get to that. Please don't let me forget. That's the most important part of this conversation. I have solutions anyone can build very easily. So I was in Puerto Morales to talk to people to learn how to build this Tesla technology. In the process, I stepped on these other human operations projects, right? Or experimentations, human trafficking, right? These 2 other targeted individuals. I pissed off a lot of people down there just by being there and being who I am, which is surviving. Right before I left, by the way, the contractors here tried to kill me. They tried to arrange a carjacking. And this was just right across the river from where I'm at right now, about a mile and a half away from literally where I'm sitting down right now, at a freeway on-ramp. But I didn't really notice that at the time till later what they had tried to do, because it got foiled by a police officer who wasn't part of the project. Because I'm getting off topic. See, there's so much to talk about here. It just goes on and on. But when I was in Mexico, these Israelis, eventually I pissed them off to the point they tried to kill me. They tried to throw me off the top of a hostel. You can look this up. Puerto Morales only has 1 hostel in their downtown area. It's on the 4th floor. I'm not making this up. They tried to throw me off that. I ended up escaping from that. It was a long night. I could get into the specifics of it. It doesn't really matter because I've had many of these nights that are, more story worthy. But at that point, I left Puerto Morales in a hurry, obviously, because I had these Israelis on me. And not only that, but there was Russian cartel there that were following me around. And then there was this Mexican-American dual nationals that were following me around there. And they were all coordinating together, which was very freaky to me because I thought at the time this was just an America NATO issue. That's why I was trying to leave the NATO apparatus to see where I could have a life. Because this has been 11 years of my life dealing with these people, torturing me, trying to kill me, so forth, experimenting on me, hitting me with these directed energy weapons, like that other person was talking about, Kim. She was talking about her dad has voice to skull. I've had voice to skull since 2017, right? And that's like a chatterbot that goes off intermittently. It's microwave hearing. But either way, so
just wanted to interject with Angeline, my beautiful girlfriend, says that is why it's important to know that we are not our thoughts and become aware of the part of us that observes our thoughts and what goes on in our bodies, because at any time they can interject thoughts that aren't your own to make these horrible things. And know that whatever these thoughts are, you're not your thoughts. That's just an instrument, and let it flow through you. Don't let it get stuck and make you think you're going crazy because of maybe these horrible thoughts that may be coming through your mind.
100%. That was very good timing. The awareness of yourself is crucial to surviving. Just in general, what we're going through right now, because we're all being passively targeted at this point. And who knows who's going to be actively targeted tomorrow. Just like Kim was saying, they targeted her 94-year-old father. These people know no bounds. They'll do anything for any reason. That's just the point of history we're at. And that's why I was saying earlier, revelations, because this is when it's going to all come out, everything that's been happening for the last however 100 years, give or take. I mean, it's been going on way longer than that, but at this level, right, we've seen a steady increase for the last 100 years to bring us to this point. But so I left there in a hurry, and having noticed all of this, that the Israelis, the Americans, the Mexican Americans, and there was the Russian cartel, there was Argentinian military there for some reason. They were following me around, just crazy shit. And what I figured out later is that they were all vacationing there. It was like an excuse for them to vacation there to pick up the contract. And then things did start to go south with what I was doing. And that's when they decided to kill me. So it evolved for them, right? They just wanted to have a nice vacation, most of these people. And then they were like, oh, shit, we got to kill this guy. So I ended up leaving Puerto Morales, and I went to San Jose next, and Costa Rica. And San Jose, immediately I landed. There was a team on me, a counterintelligence team. They were American, Costa Rican. And I went, that makes sense. I mean, these people, when you've been in this for so long, you just notice these people. It's hard to describe how you do until you're in the moment. But if you were walking right next to me, Jesse, you would notice them too, right? Like if I pointed out what to look for, then you would start noticing them. And then your life would start to become hard, because that's the big secret, right? Is how the secret police actually work in the Western countries. Once you start figuring this out, then you become a threat, and that's when all these things get deployed on you. Or like my case, they all got deployed on me, and then I figured it out. But so there was a Costa Rican American contingency on me immediately, with mostly ex-US military, part of them. So I went to a nice hotel that was in like a gated compound, and I just holed up there. And about the third day of being attacked with these weapons pretty viciously, I decided enough is enough. And I didn't look at the calendar. I had no idea what day it was. I just decided today I'm getting on a bus and I'm going to go see some monkeys, because I hadn't had something nice in my life for a long time. So I got on a bus. I took it where I thought I was going, to this place in Costa Rica called, I'm laughing right now because I can't believe that this happened, but to La Forestera, which is just the forest. It's like a tourist spot where you can have these eco hotels with these monkeys. I thought, oh, that'd be really nice. Anyways, I got on the wrong bus. I ended up going on a ferry. I ended up in this area across the Punta Arenas. My Spanish is really bad. I learned it on the fly going through this. I didn't know any Spanish before any of this. So I was in Punta Arenas. I took a ferry across the Gulf, the bay. I can't remember the name of the bay. And I wound up taking another bus to this town. It's called Santa Teresa, right? And this is where everything changed for me. This is where I figured out exactly the everything I thought was real about this being a depopulation program. And I'll get into that in a second. I met these people. I met the New World Order people firsthand in Santa Teresa, Costa Rica. It's an Israeli enclave. Israelis have towns that they've built all around the world. And one of them is that they go to. This is like where they primarily vacation if they're in the Americas. If they're in Central America or North America, they all go to this area, Santa Teresa. You can look it up, Santa Teresa, Costa Rica. All right. If you look at the hotel names there, they're all a cult. It's all a big Luciferian, Satanist, Zionist enclave there. The only people that go there are regular Costa Ricans by accident, and Israelis and U.S. military. And there's a lot of bad U.S. military out there. And I'm not trying to talk crap about all U.S. military. I know there's some people that got in a bad situation, whatnot. But these are the people, like the deep state people, are all down there. And the night I was there was New Year's. I had left on December 22nd, United States of America. I went to Mexico that first 6 days or whatever. I was in Costa Rica a few days before, like I said, New Year's, and I didn't look at the calendar. I was so preoccupied with being attacked and these counterintelligence teams, and I was freaking out, right? Because at this point I realized that like what had happened in Puerto Morales was people had tried to kill me in that hostile situation, try to throw me off the building there. And there a lot goes into this, right? I mean, like I said, this could go on and on and on, but they use invisibility cloaks. That's like another thing they've been doing for a very long time, since the 80s. You can look that up yourself or just Google it. Literally just Google invisibility cloaks. I saw that. Kim Green, you can contact me at ACOLE9689 at Hotmail, but it's also just go to the Onionhead Andrew Rumble page, and the contact info is there at the end of any video and at the show notes. But okay. So I go to Santa Teresa, and literally everyone I'm meeting is Israeli. And it's like they're all, every Israeli, this is why Israelis are the way they are. Most of them are dual nationals. A lot of people don't understand this. Most of them go through birthright. So what that means is that they're usually from Central or Eastern Europe. Ukraine is one of the biggest areas. And by the way, that's who's really running Ukraine on the ground right now, are deep staters in Israel, in case you didn't know that. But they all get their citizenship to Israel through birthright, but they start off in Poland, Germany, Italy, all the way over to Ukraine. That's the area most Israelis are from. And a lot of Israelis are American too. They were born in America and they end up doing the birthright. And so, and then they have to do IDF. They have to do their 2 to 4 years. And there's an option they have. They can do that in Israel, or they can join some secret service around the world. And because a lot of them have ties around the world, have families around the world, they choose to do the secret service, right? And through corporations, through NGOs primarily, like Mossad counterintelligence, stuff, but through these cutouts. That's why Israelis are the secret police of the world. It's got nothing to do with Judaism. I mean, there's a secret society element to this, the Luciferian element to it, the Kabbalist element to it, but it's really about the nation of Israel and how it's structured. So when I was in Costa Rica in Santa Teresa, what I was coming across was all these Eastern European Israelis, and they all had these intelligence ties. Not all of them, a lot of them. So that night on New Year's, I was walking around looking for a place to stay, and I was coming across teams of these people trying to facilitate me into honeypot situations, into just any situation that they could get me alone to do whatever they were going to do, drug me, kill me, kidnap me, whatever. And I stayed alive by the skin of my teeth, long story short. And I mean, by the end of the night, there was literally Costa Rican gangsters on motorcycles. This is like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to literally run me down, like chasing me. I was literally running at one point, right? And I recommend anyone look up Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, if you want to see for yourself a real life Luciferian, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, New World Order hangout. This is one of their places they hang out in the world. You go there any time of the year, they're going to be there. They're going to be doing their child stuff, sacrifice and whatnot. And that's not the only thing. I came across those people too. I came across the occultists, right? They were wearing tattoos and talking in code about it. Like there are specific images that these people wear on themselves when they're involved in this. And one of them is a bell with a child inside of it with fire underneath. Another one is a bowl. It's ball. That's why the bell. But another one is a bowl with a child inside of it being burned, just like they used to do in Greece. So another one is Mother Mary, but as a skeleton, and not the Mexican way. It's very specific. It's got imagery of always of hurting children. And like I said, they literally wear tattoos of this on themselves. So I came across those people. I came across the Costa Rican gangsters who tried to kill me. I came across the Israeli military. And then I came across these New York finance millionaire people, right? And 2 in particular. But one came up to me and was very blatant, He asked me if I had got the experimentation, the medical experimentation. And I said, no. And he said, when will you people learn that you all just need to fall in line? Basically spitting on my feet as he walked away. They would literally that night, I was in their spot. I was in their town. They came to me, right? They came to me to confront me. And the whole time this was going on during the day, I was sitting on the beach there praying, right? So I was ruining their little Luciferian hangout by just being there praying for the safety and security of myself and also this thing that's going on, right? Because before that, I knew it was going on. But this is the night I knew that I was spot on with all this stuff. When I met these people, it's 100% real. They are really doing these child sacrifice stuff. There really is a new world order. There really is a group of people in the NATO apparatus and the Chinese and the Russian and the Indian, whatever. They're all working together. They really are facilitating this. It's a very small group, but they have a lot of power and they hang out together. And not only do they hang out together, they marry each other, they have children with each other. They're always making these dual and tri-nationals. And that's how they're facilitating all of this through the back channels. So you meet these families in a situation like this, they're one after another, and it starts becoming very clear what's going on. And like I said, they thought I was going to die, right? So it was like a James Bond villain coming up to James Bond and telling him exactly what the plan had been, right? And I'm not James Bond. It's just that's the metaphor, right? I mean, I guess I'd be more like Jason Bourne without the running, without the parkour. That's how it is, though. In real life, when you've got these teams following you, it's like that. You got to keep your head on straight. You got to never get afraid. You got to never get too worked up, and you'll be fine if you're in this situation. Remember that. Never be afraid, because being afraid will get you into the mindset where they can hunt you. They can stalk you, right? And that's what they're always trying to do. Sorry, that was a lot. Do you got any questions? Because I got more.
No, but I just wanted to say, well, you're bang on about not being afraid, because, ultimately you are protected. But if you go into that fear state, that fear vibration, now you're putting yourself where you can be manipulated and taking you away from your protected state.
100%. And God will guide you. If you ask for it, he will guide you. It will guide you. And regardless of your religious ties, God is there for you. And even if you want to call that the universe, it's there for you. Just call upon it, right? I would say it's bigger than creation, obviously, but I mean, it's obvious to me, but whatever your flavor is, call upon it and it will guide you through these moments. And you bet your bottom dollar I was praying through this whole time, right? When you literally at one point that night, I mean, I went to their vacation spot on New Year's by complete accident. God brought me there because I had prayed before that, 6 months before that or something. I said, God, let me know my enemy. Please let me know my enemy so that I can understand what's happening here. Right now, I know my enemy is within. I wish I would have known that before, but you go through these things, right? It arranges for it in a way. God arranges you to go through these things in a specific way. So eventually I got out of Costa Rica. I rode the bus back. I had these Israeli military teams, Costa Rican military teams following me the whole way. And now they were the bigwigs, right? Now it was literally the military guys, thinly veiled, coming at me. Their special teams, Israeli special teams, Costa Rican, because now I had pissed them off exceptionally. Going to their vacation spot, talking to all their people, learning all of their secrets, because they came to me, these arrogant pricks came to me to tell me all their secrets, thinking they were going to kill me, and then I survived it. So now I've got the special teams. From this point on, I've got special teams following me everywhere I go. So eventually I just try to shorten this up. I get out of Costa Rica. I make it to Nicaragua. Glory is God's. Nicaragua, safe place for me for a full 2.5 months. It took 2.5 months. It took them, the Israelis, to influence and bribe all the Sandinistas, because that's their government there, to build the human trafficking infrastructure. So for Grenada, Nicaragua, that's where I was at. For 2.5 months, I lived like a fairly regular person. They had Costa Rican teams come in and follow me around. But without that support of the local law enforcement, they can only do so much, right? So I basically got to live like a regular person, and it was fantastic. I ended up making a lot of friends in Nicaragua. I still have them today. It's a great time. I lived on an island in Lake Nicaragua, right outside of Grenada. If you ever get the chance, go there. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful place. The government is terrible. Sandinistas, they're exactly what you think. But they don't have formal ties with NATO. They don't have formal ties with China, and they only have failing ties with Russia. So they're about as far from the New World Order as you can get in the Americas, outside of islands in the Caribbean. And so that's why I had a good time there. But eventually it caught up with me, and I could go into it, but it'd be too long. And I left there, and I went to Panama. Israelis run Panama, Israelis and U.S. military. It's like a Costa Rica and Panama are like colonies of America and Israel. And then, so more or less the same thing as Costa Rica, but it was a little bit less in Panama. And then I went to Bolivia, and this was where it got interesting for me. All of a sudden, the Americans were gone, and I was looking around trying to find them. Nowhere. NATO people gone for the most part. Few here and there, like Brazilians. Brazilians are part of the NATO apparatus. Even though they're technically supposed to be part of BRICS, that's not real. They're actually part of NATO. U.S. military's got bases down there. But few Brazilians, but that was really about it. Who was mostly down in Bolivia were the Chinese. And so now I'm dealing with Chinese counterintelligence teams. And it's like, what the is this? Right? It's like, I thought this was a NATO thing with just a, like that Russian cartel. Maybe they were just gangbangers taking contracts, whatever, back in Mexico. Like, okay, so we really are in the New World Order. And if you think about it, it's already happened. Like in this upper echelon of deep state spooks and politicians and corporate figures, like they're already doing it. It's already happening. If
Well,
you look at,
it's not a new world order, it's the old world order. And they've infiltrated through the military industrial complex. When that's gone through and put bases everywhere, it's all done by these secret societies and
yeah,
military industrial contractors, the military, the MIC. That's how this is. They've put their tentacles, but it all started with from the Roman Catholic Church is the one started putting all these tentacles out into every single area of the world, and
yeah,
then that's
the
that
Jesuits, yeah,
the secret Jesuit army, the
yeah,
Jesuit order. That's who actually is, kind of, well, one layer up above the military industrial complex, because I believe it was not Aldo, but Farnese. Farnese's got a Pentagon compound inside of Italy in Europe, and
mhm,
it's like shaped like the Pentagon. They're the ones who actually funded the Pentagon
yeah,
being built.
yeah,
So this comes from, the Jesuit order, who actually funded the U.S. Pentagon to be the military might to be
uh-huh.
able to collect on any loans or anything that this old world order.
The
They're,
the black
yeah,
nobility was owed,
yeah,
and the Catholic Church is the ordering of the black nobility. Like back in the day, before the crowns all abdicated to become corporations, all the second sons and third sons would join the Catholics. They would become priests and bishops and cardinals. That's how it used to work. Like the dukes of yesteryear would be the cardinals and bishops. So the Catholic empire, which is just universalism, that term became the structure during the medieval ages of the black nobility, the ordering that certain families could marry certain families, but only approved by the Pope and the cardinals and the bishops. But you're right. You're exactly right. That's how I figured this all since. But at the time, I didn't know. I had heard of these things, but I didn't know for sure. It's another thing when you're living it, right? When you've got these people coming at you from every angle, everywhere you go, and you're trying to figure it out. When it's in theory, you're like, well, maybe the Jesuits have some control over here. Jesuits are the secret police for the Catholics. That's really what they are. That's all they really are. Well, they do more than that too. They do politician stuff. They do lies. They're grand liars also. But when you're going through this, you learn this in real time, and it's like, where does it stop? And the thing is, it doesn't, right? Because it is the old world order moving into this new age. But I also think it's failing, right? Like, so it's not a hopeless cause. But anyways, so Bolivia, I dealt with Chinese. Then I went to Brazil, and it was back to Israelis and Americans. And then I came back to the United States. And since that point, since I left, a little bit before I left, there's been assassins and teams of them that have come in and out of my life trying to kill me because of what I'm about to talk about right now. This is the whole reason that I did the Rumble channel. It wasn't to talk about my personal story. It wasn't to talk about this, old world order and how it's working today. That's all important, but it's not that important. What's important is the nano machinery and how it builds in your body. Okay, and jump in whenever you've got any questions, please, Jesse, because I don't want this to be complicated.
Yeah, so part of the stuff that, you're talking about with this nano machinery and, this stuff that's in the food, the air and the water, they're trying to get this graphene oxide, get this black goo, get these, Morgellons things, assembling inside of people. Could people, like, when people do things like fasting, detoxing, heavy metal detoxes, this actually helps to get this out of you. There's good bath. There's a baking soda, Epsom salt, borax, with some lavender oil. And so I put some CBD oil in, like, to get some of, you could see some of this stuff coming out of you. So if you're continually detoxing, fasting, heavy metals, getting rid of it, zeolites, all kinds of stuff, that's going to essentially help you to keep this stuff out of your body.
100%, 100%. But you've got to be very careful, okay? Anything that's marketed specifically to get this stuff out of your body is going to be infected with more of it. All right. And that's not because the people making it are a part of this conspiracy. That's because these contractors, foreign intelligence, are being brought here, and also FBI contractors here in the United States. And Canada is the same thing. And I know Western Europe is the same thing, are specifically targeting this in shipment and transportation. They are specifically going after this in any logistical manner they can. So what's more important than any one given thing, because there's 1,000 things, is to understand the principle behind it. Okay. The principle behind it is very simple. Your body needs to be in an acidic state. All right. So there's acidic, neutral, and alkaline. Right. It's a scale. And the more
Did you say
acidic,
acidic? Because the more acidic you are, the more cancer can flourish throughout the body.
exactly. It's acidic state. Another way to say it would be magnetic. All right. And I can explain the electric side of this very quickly in just a second. The acidic states are being promoted through the poisoning of the food and the air and the water. Always. They always have been. All right. The elites, the black nobility people that have always desired to keep our population in a certain bounds for their control reasons, have always been poisoning us in this way. Because if you can keep the body in an inflamed state, in a sickly state, people are easier to control and they die before they live too long, right? It's always been going on. Okay. So let's replace the word acidic with magnetic, and it will start to make a little bit more sense about what's happening right now. Everyone's body is becoming magnetized, right? And through this magnetic effect, the directed energy weapons become ultra effective. Before your body is, if your body is in a neutral or slightly alkaline state, and I'm just talking relatively here because every system in your body has a different pH. So I'm just talking relatively here to any given system, right? More alkaline, more neutral, more acidic. When you're in a more acidic state, these directed energy weapons, and again, the whole spectrum has been weaponized from extremely low frequency, probably to gamma. I don't know though. You know what I mean? I do know at 5G for sure, the millimeter wave. So that whole spectrum there for sure, it becomes effective. They can vibrate you from the inside out. Now, what is that vibration? It's heat. So they are burning people up from the inside out because people are magnetic.
Just
That's
like a directed energy weapon coming from up, when it comes down on a tree, it starts burning because of the liquid from the inside out. There's flames inside of the tree. So that's the same thing as us. When they're targeting us, it's making us inflamed, burning from the inside out,
yep.
inflaming. And how many people do you know? Because I personally do. I've even dealt with it myself, inflammation problems, personal problems. And it comes with the acidity. I just wanted to mention here from Reefer says you're dealing with synthetic parasites, black goose, so synthetic detoxing like ivermectin works best for you. I would never take ivermectin ever in my ever, no matter what I'd be dealing with, because for one, it's made by a pharmaceutical company. So like what Onionhead is saying here is that they're going to market these wonderful things, especially to the conspiracy theorists and the people that are awake, to get rid of stuff while they're putting stuff into you at that same time while you think you're detoxing. There's natural substances that they make ivermectin from, black walnut, wormwood, pau de arco. These are natural substances that I would take. That's what actually does the good stuff of ivermectin. I wouldn't actually take ever ivermectin because it's a synthetic, and it's made from the pharmaceutical company, which most likely, and we've even heard some people say that it's sterilizing people. Angeline took it when, everybody was getting crazy sick in 2021, and she had a mild heart attack from it.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's something I would never in my life ever take.
Well, and other thing that Reefer was saying, the black goo, be very careful. That's not real. What's real is the nanomachinery. The black goo is part of the conspiracy, aimed at conspiracy theorist cover up to get you off the red herring. It's a red herring. But that's 100% true what you just said. Everything that you could readily buy to detox this is going to be targeted specifically to make you sicker, because they want to make you, the awake person, the sickest. The people that are watching this right now, the people that understand what I'm saying is true, they want to kill you the first, right? For obvious reasons. Okay, so your body's magnetic, your body's acidic, right? If you're talking about food, how you neutralize that acidity is alkalinity. Okay, drrobertyoung.com, the alkaline diet explains very clearly how to get an alkaline diet into your life. But again, what do we know? The fruit's rubbery, the meat's magnetic, the vegetables are never perishing, right? So all this stuff has got synthetic heavy metal compounds and nanographene sprayed onto it and into it through nanographenes. And like you were saying earlier, through nanoparticulates, like you were saying earlier with the LA fires, the Maui fires, Paradise, the Fort McMillan, is that the one in Canada?
Fort McMurray.
Fort McMurray, thank you. What did we see over and over? These trees were left standing next to these huge fire events, right? And other trees were blowing up. So what's going on is these nanoparticulates are being ingested and then being triggered either by plant life, animal life, or us, and marine life too, and being triggered with these directed energy weapons. And not only that, but the directed energy weapons have been caught on camera many times, these satellite lasers, which is not very common at all, because whenever you send that much energy through the air, you're going to see it, right? And that's what we saw. We literally saw some of these lasers actually hit the ground from space. I mean, people can say that's fake, but there's been hundreds of these photos at this point, right? So, but they don't do that often because the risk of getting caught is way too high.
And space, we still don't know about space from the upper atmosphere. Could be satellites that are
exactly.
up there, because still, I'm still out on the whole what exactly space is and if there's things flying out there.
Nothing. Well, this is a good segue, because space doesn't exist without the ether. Okay, this is how this whole thing is actually working. And this is the physics they've kept secret from you. This is your spiritual inheritance. This is the answer to this whole depopulation, biodigital convergence, transhumanism, their control. The battle is still being fought, but as far as my opinion goes, the war is over. We've won. And it's with this information, okay? There is 3 energies associated with what we determine electromagnetism, okay? The 2 we know very well, electric waves and magnetic waves, right? When you run electricity in a wire, here's a wire. There is transverse waves that go like this. Those are the magnetic lines. And then there's transverse waves that go like this. That's the electric line, all right? The electric
like sign. The red and the black, and then you have the ground. So one would be red, one would be black, and then one would be the grounding.
Well, kind of. Okay. The hot side would be electric. The neutral side would be the dielectric, the negative, and the ground would be the ground. okay, which is to say water, the pH of 7, neutral, because what is the ground? It's the earth, right? So that's the neutral electrical balance that we're living on right now, that everything's balanced on. Okay, so you've got the magnetic transverse wave. A transverse wave is exactly what you think, right? It's like, like that. Okay, and then you've got the electric wave that's moving 90 degrees off of it like that. Okay, these are very well known throughout physics. Nobody argues with it. There's another wave, and this is the secret of 3, 6, and 9. What Tesla famously said. This is how Tesla was proposing to transmit electricity wireless. It was to use this third type of wave, and this third type of wave is the primary wave. It's the dielectric wave. Okay. So how it works is it's longitudinal, which means that instead of it moving like this, which is actually counter the direction it's moving, right? So if you think about that, the wave is moving up and down and left to right. So you're, by definition, that's resistance. That's the magnetic, okay? That's what your body is full of, is this magnetic particulate. You're being affected with these transverse waves. They're bombarding you constantly, okay? The balance to mate that magnetic charge, right, is the dielectric longitudinal wave. The longitudinal wave, it propagates in the same direction that the line is in. So again, we'll just use the wire metaphor, whatever. If the wave went like this, then instead of it going like that, it's going to just pull. It's a compression wave. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it moves. It's no resistance, and it promulgates in a very vast distance, right? This is scalar technology. That's what scalar actually means. 100% true, 100% provable. Okay. The magnetic, when you have a dielectric, it forms a ring. All right. This is just natural energy speaking. Okay. And this is all going to make sense in a second. I'm going to make sure that you guys get this. I really want you to ask questions. This is super important. The dielectric, it spins in a ring, like the ring of Saturn. Okay. That's actually what the ring of Saturn is. It's a dielectric ring. All right. That's just a metaphor so you can understand. Outside of that ring, there's a vortex, like a toroidal. This is where the toroidal shape comes in. The toroidal is the polarized ether. So the ether, when it's non-polarized, is a dielectric, right? It turns in a ring. It's counterspatial, so it wants to collapse on itself, and it's in this ring. That pressure creates an instability in the ether. It becomes polarized. It creates a toroidal, which is a donut shape. That donut shape has got two poles. This is where you get a bar magnet, right? With a north and a south pole, or the north and a south pole. Yes, like a CD, Jenny. The north and the south pole of a magnet are the two polarized sides of the vortex, okay? One is spinning clockwise. The other one is spinning counterclockwise. All right, so opposites don't actually attract. The south pole is not actually attracted to the north pole. What's happening when you bring these two magnets to each other, the red and the blue side, the reason they pull in together is because when you hold them close to each other, a dielectric ring is forming in between the two, and it's pulling them in. So how do you make this magnetic charge in your body, right? Whether it's the heavy metal particulates or the nanomachinery or both. You do it with dielectric energies. It's as simple as that, with scalar technologies. And I know those are big words, right? That sounds like a big word, but it's actually not a big thing at all, right? The Tesla, what's that? The Tesla wand, the violet ray wand, for example, is a Tesla technology you can purchase that is using dielectric energies. So you just get a Tesla ray wand and you plug it into a piece of rock. And literally you run a wire from this Tesla ray wand into the rock. And what happens is the rock becomes a big capacitor for this ring dielectric energy. And the ring is a counterspatial again, so it's sucking things in. And the magnetic is polarized, so it's pushing it out. So Another way to think about this would be that the dielectric is compressionary and the magnetic is tension, right? So the magnetic, generally speaking, is inflammation, right? This is literally the secret to all health, okay? The magnetic tension is causing those inflammation pockets, right? Because that's what inflammation is. It's pockets in your body where your body is not under the correct compression to operate correctly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's space. In that space, chronic illness forms, disease, cancers, all of these things, right? That's also where nanomachinery, the white fibrous clots, the turbo cancers, the heart attacks, so forth, the sudden deaths, right? So it's all connected. And I'm not that smart, by the way. I didn't discover any of this. This is rediscovered every generation, right? There are people have figured this out since the beginning of time, what I'm telling you. If you go back to the Platonists, the Neoplatonists, 2000, or the Platonists, excuse me, the people that followed Plato, 2,500 years ago, figured this out. All right. So people are always refiguring this out. The dielectric energy, when you provide it in your environment, what it does is it collapses those tensionary spaces, because we're talking about charges. We're talking about a positive magnetic charge in your body that's now being brought into voidance or null with dielectric energies. Okay, so the easiest way to do this, it's so easy. It could not be easier. And the amazing thing is, the majority of your listeners, the majority of people I've told this to in general, they do not do it. And it's like, I'm literally, that everyone's so excited about the med beds, right? Like, oh God, when are the people going to get the med beds? That was a big conversation a few years ago. Okay, what I'm giving you is the basis of the med bed conversation. This is real. You can do this. You can do it today. It's this easy. You take two copper wires, just like this. You twist it together. It forms this tight coil. The reason you want this tight coil is because between these copper windings, it has a higher capacitance for dielectric energy. Okay. Then you take a cheap fan, just like this. This is it. And you glue these suckers onto the fan blades, and then you spin it up, right? And what this does is it creates a dielectric radial ring, just like I was talking about, the same one that's beyond microscope, that's holding up our reality right now. But now you make a big one, okay? And
so because these copper are these copper winded, length. Yeah. So a winded piece of wire, and you've glued them all onto this fan. You plug your fan in, you turn the fan on, and hence it's going to be spinning this copper, and it's going to create some kind of like a healing vortex. Is that kind of what you're saying?
The vortex that's created is magnetic. It will create a magnetic vortex. That also helps you shed the magnetic in you. But inside that vortex is a ring. And that ring is longitudinal waves. That's why I brought that up. So it goes through everything, and it goes for a huge distance. Like right now, I've got probably 3 or 4 of these running around the property, and I'm affecting the weather in any given day between a quarter mile, the chemtrails, taking the chemtrails right out of the air, anywhere between a fifth of a mile to 3-4 miles in a radius around my property.
Here's a good question. Does the number of blades on the fan matter? And can you do it on a ceiling fan as well?
Ceiling fans are the best. Whatever you can get the most copper material on, because copper, you want a non-magnetic conductive material. Okay. And however you can get it to spin the fastest will create the biggest dielectric effect. It's as simple as that. Okay. That's the basis of this new, this scalar technology that is being readily available to the public right now. That's why I reached out to you, is because I don't want to live with any of regrets. I don't want to go survive through this depopulation program knowing everything I know and not doing as much I could to help people. I've been in this 10 years. This is 100% real. And over the span of a month or a few weeks, you will notice the difference in you. 100%. I mean, I can't guarantee anything because everyone's different, but I should say 90%. You know what I mean? 99%. I'm not confident.
Now, for me, I don't like a fan directly blowing on me. Like
Mhm,
if I have a ceiling fan and
mhm,
it's turned on when I'm sleeping, I'll wake up with a cold. I won't, and I haven't had a cold in 7 years, but I obviously haven't been under a sleeping fan in those 7 years. But or if a fan is blowing, and it could even be like warm in summertime, if the fan is directly blowing on me, I don't really like it. I like an oscillating.
mhm.
So, do you have to be directly in front of the wind? Like, do you have to, for how long? Could it just be if you set up these certain fans throughout the house and now it's going to create this energy inside of the house? So it doesn't really matter if you're sitting right in front of it. Like, could you maybe explain that a little bit?
100% what you just said is totally true. You could put, and it doesn't need to be a fan. The only reason I'm using fans is because they have the fastest RPM, rotations per minute, and they've got they're the cheapest to buy. I can get a fan like this for 20 bucks. And really what I need though is just this electric motor. Whatever you want to hook this non magnetic conductive material to and spin it up. That's
Oh, so essentially you could take off the plastic piece, like you could trim it down to just having little lines, and
yep,
so it's going to spin without the actual wind coming at you. And then
yep.
if you're closer to it, will it have more of an impact? Like if you like I said, if I built this and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting, for 20 minutes a day right in front of the fan,
Mm-hmm.
was that going to have more of an effect if I'm 2 feet away from it than if I'm just having it and passing by?
Yes, but it will be minute. It will have more of an effect closer, but the main thing we're getting from this is the longitudinal waves, and the longitudinal waves, just like Tesla talked about with his tower at Wardenclyffe, they 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 don't get nothing disturbs them because they're not transverse waves. They're not moving through the atmosphere with resistance. They're counterspatial. It's like they're already connected at quite a distance to everything. Does that make
Tesla says,
sense?
yeah, 100%. Tesla says, what adhesive is best to use on the copper wires to a fan blade? And someone also said you can mount it on one of the bullies of your car engine. So you could be driving. Could you put this on like the fan of your car if,
Yeah, it
and
might
like,
mess up your alternator though. I don't know. I don't know. Do it though. Tell me, do it and then let me know. But however you can get it to spin the fastest and get the most material will have the biggest effect. It's literally as simple as that. And then you can actually change the shape. So like what I'm working on right now is, yeah, I hate saying this because the contractors, but I'll tell your audience because I want them to understand like how versatile this idea is. I could put a cone right here, right? Like a traffic cone, and I could spin the traffic cone, and I could put these copper wires all along the traffic cone so that the copper wires spin, more or less like this radially. Radially, that's the important part. It spins radially, right? So in a circular fashion would be like a globe, right? Radially is a ring. You
so
need it
they,
to spin in a ring.
So they have these little tiny cones for like soccer practice, not
Yeah,
these big traffic cones. So you're
yeah.
saying you could glue that, take off the front cage of the
Mm-hmm,
fan,
mm-hmm,
glue this, small cone
mm-hmm.
onto the fan, and
Mm-hmm.
then take these twisted copper wires and spin it all the way around the cone. So
Oh,
that way that wire is going spinning, or would you want to do it lengthwise?
lengthwise, I think, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, this
Because
is up.
I seen it like this, and
Uh,
then it's spinning this way, and it's actually coming out like as a vortex. I just like seen something like that.
okay, so the cone is going to give it a near field effect. So it's going to bring the field, the dielectric field, even closer to you. So that's why you would use a cone. If you wanted to project this, you would use a satellite dish looking apparatus. All
What if
right.
the fan blades are metal?
Uh, well, I wouldn't. the problem, you don't want to mess with the capacitancy of the copper. So I'm not exactly sure. It depends on the metal, and you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
depends if there's paint. I don't know, but
So
you
it'd
could
be
just
better on a plastic, fan blade, you're saying.
yeah, but you could also paint the metal, and then it wouldn't be a factor, right? Because you wouldn't lose that capacitancy, or you could pad it and like make a distance from the metal. The Yeah, see, that's a longer conversation about how electricity is transmitted. That I mean, we could start to get into, but the bigger thing is just like this is the most practical thing that anyone can do right now, right? So, and then again, right, like just to think about these different shapes. So if I used a satellite shape, if I put a bowl right here, you know, and I spun that bowl, same idea, put the copper inside of it, I could potentially aim it like a anti chemtrail cannon.
Ah,
Because that's what this.
that'd be so great having them shooting out like these little cannons. If you just have like, okay, so could you have one in a room and the house is covered? So how many, like if you live in 1,000 square foot house, just say for example,
Uh-huh.
you've got just a main floor of a bungalow of a house,
Mhm.
you've got 3 bedrooms, a kitchen. Would you want to put one at one end of the house, another, or would you want to put four? Would one be able to suffice the whole entire house? Like, I know you're just still learning this stuff, but just
Mhm.
what your thoughts on, if someone wanted to protect their house, how many do you think? I know Tesla's 369, so maybe a minimum of three, I would say,
Well,
but what's your thoughts?
you start to move into multiplicities when you talk about geometry like that, making multiple dielectric rings. Because once you make multiple dielectric rings, you can have more of an effect. So it's generally speaking, it's like if I had somebody with cancer in my family, right, and I had the ability to do this for them, I would put as many as I could without it being obnoxious, you know. And then I not only that, but I would mess around with like a lawnmower engine. If I could get, you know, if I that's a good amount of horsepower. If I could get a big stick of like zero gauge like battery cable copper to spin at a crazy velocity, you know, 2000 RPMs or something like that, then it would be even better. So there is no one thing. But what I will say is do one really well and then look up. And once you notice that it's busting up the chemtrails, you're going to get addicted to it. And not only that, but you're going to notice more peace and happiness in your life. I mean, if you're aware enough, because it does take that level of awareness.
Someone mentioned, Jenny, you or Facebook, save your pennies, people. They used to have copper pennies.
Mhm.
Now, could you tape a bunch of copper pennies to each one of the blades, or does this have to be wire that is twisted that you think that would have more of an effect?
I think wire twisted would have more effect, but if you used copper plate, like a copper sheet metal, and you cut that to fit and then you layered it, that would have even more of an effect.
Mm.
So, because that you're building a greater capacitance. Capacitance is the charge that's held between two things. That's the dielectric energy. That's so when you're looking at a wire, like I said before, like a house wire, really there's a dielectric that's the main carrier of energy. And it's lost on everyone because all we ever talk about is electromagnetism. This is what Tesla was furious about with Albert Einstein. And all the theories of relativity, all that Albert Einstein nonsense is totally ignoring the dielectric, in which Albert Einstein said himself the only way that reality works is through ether. All right. So this is the hidden physics. This is much, much bigger than targeted individuals. This is actually bigger than the global depopulation program. This is the biggest, I was looking at that. This is the biggest secret that's been kept from mankind. This is your spiritual inheritance. And you can start learning how to do it with just putting copper on a motor and spinning it up. Um, but if you want to go in greater detail, understanding not this particular device, but in dielectricism, Ken Wheeler actually on YouTube, Theoria Apotheosia. Uh, if you could look that up for your audience, that'd be great. But Ken Wheeler's got a book. It's like a magnetism, Ken Wheeler magnetism, like that. But that's a great place to start. He's a great modern day thinker. And not only that, but he amalgamates all of the classics like Tesla's work and Oliver Heaviside and Maxwell and Faraday. And this is a great place to start. And I've been working on this for understanding these things for the last, I don't know, 3-4 years. For me, what happened first is I understood how food was doing this, right? So how food was providing my body with dielectric energy. And that's through the alkaline. So you could replace the word alkaline with dielectric just to bring this full circle. I was getting these magnetic particles and nanomachinery out of me just using fruit peels primarily, like orange peels, lemon peels, stuff like that. Grapefruit peels. Grapefruit peels are incredibly potent. But now everything's infected, so I had to learn how to build these machines.
Now, what do you do with these grapefruit peels and orange peels? Because I know Angeline, she's been dehydrating them, drying them out, wanting to make them into powders, to use some of these things as powders and things. But how do you utilize these grapefruit peels, orange peels, things like that?
I used to just eat them raw.
Oh, you would eat them.
They have an incredible. It's like eating garlic. Garlic has this similar effect as eating a grapefruit peel. It just blows all this stuff out. If you can get fresh garlic, if you can get any fresh fruit like that, and just generally talking, like going back to this idea of magnetic and dielectric and acidic and alkaline, the inside of a lemon is incredibly acidic. The fruit of a lemon is incredibly acidic. To encapsulate that, you would need an incredibly alkaline substance. That's why the peels are so charged with this dielectric energy. They have to be to withhold the acidic fruit within inside.
Wow,
all right, now
that's fascinating.
it's so now if you think about this long enough, you'll start to figure out what I'm saying. The dielectric ring and the magnetic vortex is the basis of all life. The solutions are endless. So start with spinning some copper, but think about this in all aspects of your life. And again, if you want to go into more things that that I've thought of, solutions that, like, for example, infrared light. Infrared light. This
keep talking about the infrared light. I'm going to be right back 1 second.
Okay. The infrared light, it's the same wavelength that's produced from the sun, roughly. If you shine this light on you, what it does is it takes the water that surrounds your cell and it moves the an alkaline. It's more or less H3O2. It's another type of water, but it's the same a similar water that you would find in fresh fruit juice. But this H3O2, it ends up insulating your cell. And the bulk water is what it's called, which is the acidic water, the water that's full of toxins, moves to the outside. So that's just infrared. That's why people like sunbathing. And that's one of many solutions that I figured out. But if you take this infrared in general and you shine it across your veins that are like varicose or these people that are clotting, basically, if they have these infrared lights, these 150-watt incandescent infrared lights that are heat lamps that are made for reptiles or chickens, it would break apart their blood clots using this electronic charges that we're talking about. So it's not just one thing, right? It's like even in light, and light is mostly a transverse wave, there is still a dielectric component. There's still part of the spectrum that produces a dielectric energy, even within, like I said, the spectrum that's mostly transverse. And then just to like get a better idea of what longitudinal waves are, sound is a longitudinal wave. Like we all have a good idea of how sound moves through an area. It like presses upon itself and it moves in that compressionary wave fashion. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about dielectric. When we're specifically talking about spinning copper with the fan, this dielectric longitudinal waves, they go out in a great distance. I mean, I don't know where it stops. I have a feeling it's about, for these ceiling fans that I've got going here and these other fans, I have a feeling that on the best day, atmospherically speaking, because atmosphere changes the way dielectric energies move, it's going about 5 miles. Yep. If you just glue that you've been wearing that, I can tell, because it bronzed.
Someone gave it to me and it's been inside of this plastic tube when I was going my major hip problem. So I've had this for years that I've just been carrying around with me, this copper and they did it. They created some kind of, they spun it and then they created some kind of a little, and they said it was a Tesla, I don't know, 369. The way they spun it around.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the way the 369 works is that the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8 are the magnetic vortex, and the 3, 6, and 9 are the dielectric and electrical energies. So I mean, that would be a longer conversation that we could get into a different time, where we could go into more like more of how it works. And then, like, I don't know if you ever want to have me back on again, but
Yeah.
Oh, great, because I'm gonna have more stuff coming down the line. I
Oh
just
yeah,
had a
I'd like to. You're very intelligent. I like the stuff you talk about, so you can be on more regularly.
That would be great, because I would love to. We only just cut the surface of this stuff, I just try to keep it as short as possible because, like I said, any one of these subjects we could go on and on and on about. Just the stuff that's happening here in Clark County, Vancouver, Washington, could be a story in itself. How these FBI personnel are operating, these child traffickers. But it's all connected, right? And I guess, like, if you want to ask me more questions about that, but the spiritual inheritance part of this, it cannot be more real. I didn't. I mean, yes, I have an intelligence about me. Thank you, God, but I am not the smartest person by any means. I got all of this information by calling upon it. I asked for God, and then I aligned myself through righteousness as best as I could by doing right. Not false righteousness, but by doing the best I could at any given thing, being the most moral I could at any given thing. That's not to say I'm better than any one person. We're all on our journey. But this is my point in bringing this up, is we're moving through a time where many, many people are dying, and many, many more people are going to die. And most of them are going to die because they're unwilling to change, and they wish to stay in false realities, which is to say iniquities. It's very sad. I cry about this often, not to lose my man card, but it's true. If we turn to this new understanding, like this dielectric energies that's here for us, and we try to live as righteously as possible and focus on changing ourselves as best as we can, we're going to make it through this. And I think a lot more people are going to make it through this than most of us were thinking a few years ago. I don't know about you.
I've seen more people become awake and aware in this last 5 years than I've seen in the 30 years combined that I've been rattling these cages trying to wake up. So yeah, there's a lot more people, and my people will perish only for a lack of knowledge, and comprehension of what's going on. So that's why we're trying to, enlighten anybody willing to listen, and knowledge is power. We have a question here. Does Andrew think that there are non-humans involved from Reefer in our Rumble channel?
I think there's angels. I think there's God. I don't know about interterrestrials. I don't know about extraterrestrials. I've got my theories, but I have no real idea. And dimensionals it seems like we're moving through dimensions here, because the ether kind of proves that we are. The longitudinal dielectric energy is counterspatial. So it's coming from and it's moving out of this dimension. So I don't know what that means,
Sleeping Giant wants to know your thoughts on Trump.
Jeez. So I have a loaded question right now, right?
Just speak freely. We've got people that love him. We've got people that think he's the Antichrist, Jesuit, Zionist puppet shill. So you're going to have some people that are going to agree with what you're going to say, and there are going to be people that are going to, I don't want to listen anymore. But it is what it is. He's a very polarizing figure, and people just like to know where people stand on it. I'm still out on the thing because I see him doing visibly good things, but then I also see him linked to the Zionists and to this digital world order. So
Yeah, and that's, I mean, warp speed. I'm not ever going to forget about that, ever. So once warp speed was done, and then not only that, but there was a Epstein survivor, Maria Farmer. She was on Twitter forever. Hope she doesn't get mad that I talk about this, because she's been through a lot. But she said plainly that Trump was at the Lex Wessner compound many, many times doing stuff there. Lex Wessner being the financier of Jeffrey Epstein.
mhm.
And not only that, but Trump's got ties to Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn was running a brownstone operation, which was another Jeffrey Epstein operation back in the 80s. He ended up dying of AIDS in the early 90s. And but before that, in the 70s, Trump was one of his proteges. And Roy Cohn was a lawyer by trade, but he was really a human trafficker.
And
So,
wasn't that from the Cohen gangster family?
yeah, I believe so. I'm not sure; it could be spelled different, but they were Jewish mobsters. That
Mhm.
Brooklyn Jewish mafia scene, which the Italian mafia is part of. They're Jewish Italian, but the whole Jewish thing, it's a misnomer. They're not actually Jewish; they're secret society.
Well, it's we've done some deep dives in that instance, and they come from these Eastern, Jewish people come from Ashkenaz.
Mm-hmm.
And Ashkenaz, which these Ashkenazis, they're not actually from Shem, so they're not actually Semitic people. They come from Gomer.
Yeah,
And so to call them to say anything about them and for them to say, "Oh, you're anti-Semitic," well, you're not even a Semitic people. So you
yeah.
can't be Semitic, when you're calling out nasty behavior on people that aren't even Semites.
It is a big hypocrisy, that whole conversation. But I know personally Ashkenazi people, right? And um, they get so I their loved ones, they get so triggered by this. So I did the research and looked it up, like, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the whole Jewish psyop thing, especially after my travels, meeting all these dirty, nasty pedophile Israelis and secret society Israelis. I got tired of it. And it goes back to Rome. It always goes back to Rome, like in the modern time. But when Rome broke up Judea, it sent a diaspora of Jewish people, and many of them went north. Many of them went into Turkey and Constantinople, Byzantium. And the ruling class, the Justinians, a little bit before Justinian, Emperor Justinian, whatever, it was like 550, it's right around there AD. A little bit before that, Jews started to become part of, from Judea, that is. The term Jew isn't even real, by the way. They were Judeans.
Mhm.
Hebrews were before that. Jew was created way later in the medieval ages by the Catholics, by the Romans again, because they needed money launderers to vilify. But the Judeans settled in Byzantium, and Byzantium's biggest military ally was the Khazarians, and the Khazarians were a Turkish nomad. So these Judeans saw a lot of opportunity bringing their technology and their culture to this Turkish nomads people, the Khazarians. So they started marrying into the power structure of the Khazarians, and that's where over time you get the Ashkenazi. But the Byzantinians, they used the Judeans and the Khazarians for this purpose. So the whole idea of the Khazarian mafia is nonsense. I mean, it's true in some regards because that is where Ashkenazi comes from and all that. But it's since Christianity became Rome's new thing, which was about 400 AD, they always needed a group of money launderers to move their money around to vilify, right? Because usurpery is 100% against Christianity. There's no two ways about it. And people all the way up till the late 1700s knew this, right? Even past that point, into the early 1900s, people were against this for this reason, right? Like
And
American.
I think he's mentioning usury. So that means
Gotcha.
causing interest on loans. There
Mm.
should never be interest on a loan, and that's called usury, and it's strictly forbidden in scriptural text.
100%. There's no argument against it. Yet it's all throughout everywhere, in Western society.
And
And that,
they use these Judeans
yep,
because apparently in scriptures they say it's God's chosen people, and if God's chosen people can charge interest on loans, then it should be okay, even though it goes against scriptural teaching.
yep. So they had justification. So these black noble types going all the way back to 500 AD had it figured out. We'll use this group of people that we destroyed their country, right? We destroyed their homeland, and we'll move them around our empires, and we'll use them to money launder. And not only that, but we'll organize them in secret societies, Freemasonry being the largest one. That's where Kabbalism and Freemasonry have such a big tie, right? And that's where, like Hitler, for example, got all this nonsense from. Hitler was a Jew, all right? Hitler was Ashkenazi. He was quarter Jewish. We could go over that at a different time, or you probably already know it. His grandma was impregnated by a Rothschilds. Rothschilds make bastard children. That's what they do. That's like one of the biggest things they've always done. All right. So we don't need to go over that, but just did a little bit. That he was a British agent of the crown. The crown had moved from Venice, or from Rome to Venice to Switzerland before it was Switzerland, and the Holy Roman Empire, right? Holy Roman Empire. That's why it was named the Holy Roman Empire. That's where the crown center moved. At the same time, the papacy ordered the external crown elements. Eventually, that crown moved to the British government. The British government arranged Hitler, okay? And not only that, but the American government financed much of it. And you can look at Prescott Bush for proof of that. So this whole thing about Jewish people being the enemy, this trope needs to stop. People need to get educated on this. They will always be used as the scapegoat by the black nobility because they've been manufactured since the time of Judea to do that, right? As like there's other things too. The black nobility has done. It's not just to Jewish people. Turkish people have always been a military arm of these people since that time too. All right, they've always like the Ottomans. That's what the Ottomans were. They were an element of this empire. Today, the Iranians, the fake Islamic revolution, it's not real. They're being controlled by the Ayatollah through secret societies based out of Paris. All right. So people need to wise up about all this stuff. You have only two enemies, and the external enemy, which is these dark
Predator class,
dark occultist, and all their minions. Who gives a crap? And then the second more important one is yourself. And when we morally overcome their nonsense, this ends. We don't even really need to know who they are anymore. With this dielectric energy being made available to us right now, these scalar technologies it's not just me. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are figuring this out every day. All right, because there's an awakening. This is part of the apocalypse, the revelation, is that people who are willing are given the keys to their salvation. All we need to do is turn to God and turn to this morality and righteousness, and we will be pulled through this. And they're going to destroy themselves, right? It's like, did you ever see, this is the metaphor I always think of, did you ever see the beginning of The Dark Knight with the Joker?
probably, but I don't. It's not in my head right now.
The one with Heath Ledger?
Yeah.
Yeah. The first scene is exactly how this system works. I actually made a meme of it on Onionhead Andrew because it was like, it's such a perfect metaphor. But you'll remember when I talk about such a cool scene too. They did such a good job on the action part of it. The Joker, there's all these guys, Joker's minions dressed up in these clown masks, and they're robbing a bank. And the first two guys zip line onto the roof, and the first one takes down the security, and then the second one who's watching him take down the security shoots him, right? And it's like the share is getting smaller. Then that guy runs down to the building to the safe, and he starts cracking the safe as three other guys in the exact same Joker mask come in the front door, and they've got shotguns or guns of some sort, and they take out the security, and immediately once everything's secure, one of the clown masks shoots the other clown mask, right? And so now there's one less share. Now that guy, there's two left there in the main room, and there's one crack in the safe. One of those guys goes to the safe cracker who just cracked the safe, and he shoots that guy, right? So you see all these people are shooting everyone else, right? They take each other out because they're greedy, because they're full of evilness, right? It's not just greed. It's this desire for power and control. Now, this last guy, this second to last guy, he fills up the money in the suitcase or whatever, the bags, and he brings it out. And once it's all brought out, the last guy there kills him, right? And then at the same time, the bus breaks through their escape, right? And so it's just the bus driver and this guy that just shot the guy that shot the safecracker, that shot the security guy. And the bus driver comes out, and immediately the guy who just shot the guy who brought the money in, shoots the bus driver. And that's when you find out that that's the real Joker. And he just killed everybody that helped him rob this bank. So now it's all his money, right? That's how this whole thing is going to go. So we just need to avoid that and let them all kill each other for their little green money that means nothing, right? Their little printed pieces of green paper it's soon to be surpassed one way or the other. I don't know, regardless of whatever's going to happen. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Brian Artis. When we interviewed him, he says, I just need to keep everyone as alive as long as possible through all of this, till we get to the other side, because like you said, they are taking each other out.
Yeah, and so right now Trump is literally taking down the CIA from the outside and the inside. Literally, that's going on right now. We're watching that process start. Regardless of what I believe about Trump or what somebody believes that he's a good guy, doesn't matter. We are watching the system start to eat itself. We just have to survive it.
And because people have become awake and aware of the corruption of the CIA, of the FBI, of all of these things, so they have to dismantle it. Otherwise, the pitchforks come out. So whether he's doing this for good reasons or he's doing this because he doesn't want to be a part of the pitchforks coming at him, for some reason it's being dismantled. And that's a good thing for all of us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter if he's good or bad. As long as we keep our eyes on the prize, then it's all going to work out. I truly believe that more than anything. And that being said, please do go to Onionhead Andrew and take a look at it. And if you like it, please subscribe. Not only would it help the channel grow, but it will help me personally in my safety. I've had these people try to kill me now for the last 3.5 years. These NSA contractors, FBI contractors, literally the men in black, like those are Jesuits, by the way, big secret revealed. Men in black are real. They're just Jesuits. That's it. But I met one of those. That could be another story for another time.
I'll give you an example. So when we were interviewing, this was before I think even I have interviewed Pastor Arthur. I don't know if you remember. Get out, you Gestapo, you Nazis!
I do remember that.
So we've interviewed him a bunch of times. He actually is from my home city of Calgary, and I'd met him years before, that this all went down. I just felt like I just wanted to feed a bunch of people, that didn't have food downtown. So I cooked the giantest pot I can get, made this, great stew. Had these little bowls and spoons, and I'm like, well, where do I go to find people that may need some food downtown? So first place I rolled up, I seen like a lineup of people at these tables, and I was like, hey, these are like people. This is great. I walked up, and it was Pastor Arthur with the street church feeding these people, and I said, hey, do you mind if I've got this food that I can help feed the people? And he's like, yeah, no problem. So started dishing out this food, and the people are like, "That's the best stew ever," and I was just really happy, and I kept on doing this over and over. I thought this was great. I was like, cooking up some food and being able to just, put some love into some food and put that into people's bellies. And as I was talking to him, he was telling me this story about when he was in Poland, and this was still when it was very communist.
Mhm.
And a friend of his became the minister of defense. And he said 3 guys in black suits walked into his office with these briefcases and told him how things were and who he had to sell these weapons to. And
Mm.
he decided he was going to go against what they said, and he blew up in a car bomb. This was one of his buddies. If they didn't
Mm.
go along, they actually blew his ass up. And
Yeah.
so this was kind of before this. I think it was probably in 2018 or 2017, maybe, when
Mhm.
he told me this stuff, kind of before all this like craziness. But this is like you're talking about. Most likely, these were, the Jesuit world order coming in to these people that are in positions that can sell weapons, and then they're this secret shadow government that
Mhm.
comes and tells them what they have to do. And otherwise, those were repercussions that could have happened, which his friend ended up getting blown up because he didn't go along with selling the weapons like they wanted him to.
Yeah, and they here in the United States, I don't know other places, but they operate under the intelligence services and through the contracts. So they have like titles, It's not like they're not like, exactly what you would think when you think of Men in Black, but they are. They really are those people that go around doing the wet works. And then, like I said, there's more than those too. They'll use whatever they can get away with. Like, so at this point, it's dangerous for them to bring in people like that on me, right? Because they know I know. So I don't want to delve too much into this for my
But
own safety.
just remember, though, and you've seen it firsthand,
Mhm.
when you are protected by the Almighty, by this, by the universe, by God, whatever you want to call it, and you're not afraid and you just keep facing infinity without flinching, that you're going to be protected. You're going to find ways out. So
Yeah,
that's, it's hard. It's a lot harder for them to, attack people that are truly protected,
yeah.
because then that's why it's a lot easier for people to flow through once that you have God on your side.
It's a hell of a ride when you're going through it, though. It really is, man.
I,
It's
I was in Mexico, and this was when I was still drinking and stuff, and I became a pirate. And so what a pirate was in Cancun was I took people VIP to the nightclubs. I pirated them. I'd meet a
you
whole
can't.
group of people. I'd meet
Yeah,
a whole group of people, and then I'd take them to a nightclub, and they paid me $4 for every person I walked through the door. So
yeah,
I would literally hop on a bus, and I'm like, "Where are you guys going?" "Oh, we're going to Coco Bongo." I'm like, "You want to come with me? I'll give you free, VIP. You don't have to pay me anything. I'll walk you through the lineup right through the front." And they're like, "Yeah, great." And then I'd party with them every night. So I was a pirate. And at one point, they wanted half of my money. These Mexican gangsters or whatever, right? And I grew up like, once I, figured out how how to fight, did martial arts, all these kind of things. I'm not afraid of these things. So I took out a few of them, and next thing you know, some of my people in the bars were telling me they go, "You better watch out, Jesse. They're actually looking for you
right.
throughout the
Ego.
bars."
It's ego for them.
There was teams of people that were like hunting me.
Mhm.
And I had met this girl who had an uncle who had a cheese trucking company. And I called her and I said, "Yeah, they're actually looking for me throughout the bars, and they want to take me out." And she's like, "Well, my uncle's got a cheese trucking company." And she goes, I'll let you know." He goes, "Call me back." So I called her back. She's like, "The cheese truck is going to be in Cancun tomorrow." So I
Wow.
hopped up on this cheese truck, this semi,
That sounds
and
like it. That's exactly how it works. Yeah.
so it just things just open up. And
Yeah.
so there was the 2 drivers, and they had a bed in the back, so I'm like just chilling. They've got obviously probably the airports, the buses, all these things that they've got kind of
Yeah.
locked down looking for me. And I just rolled right through Mexico on this this big truck. And it was amazing to be able to get out safely at that time.
That's exactly how it works. It's like literally as absurd as a cheese truck. People will ask you later on how you survived, and you're like, I don't really know. It just happened. The night I was being chased by on the motorcycles, they were on dirt bikes, the Costa Rican gangsters or whatever. I literally ran. I saw some guy sharpening his machete out in front of his little house, and in my broken Spanish, I go, please, 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 let me sleep right here on the ground. And he went, okay. And I slept right there on the ground until it was light. But they literally chased me to the gate. I was literally seconds away, and it was just this nice guy, but that's how it works. God will provide you his people when it's your time when you need it.
We have Mike Smith, awesome interview, Jesse and Andrew, one of my favorite interviews, and that's huge because we've done almost 1,000 interviews, so I don't know how many he's actually got to see, but I like you. I think you're a great guy. It was great meeting you here, and you can definitely come, frequently on to the Missing Link Live if you're interested.
Yeah, I would love that. Like I said, I'm working on bringing some more technologies up, and so in the next, I don't know how long. It's hard to know because it's you got research and the experiment, so forth. But yeah, I would love to when I get to that point, but it'll be soon.
Okay, so we're usually booked 2 to 3 months in advance. I think we've been slacking a little. We're only about a month and a half out right now, but you just let me know March, April, May, whenever you want to come back, and then we'll find a date that works for you. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about here today that you maybe wanted to share before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, like I said, there's so much. We covered so much. We could go into depth about a million things, but it's been a real pleasure meeting you and talking to you.
Awesome. Well, appreciate that. You've got a new friend here for life.
Hey, God bless you, man.
And thanks for coming on the Missing Link Live. Thanks everybody. We're live right now on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble. I don't think I'm going to take this off of YouTube. It seemed like we were able to talk in code, so we'll see what happens. You never know with them. I used to put things on to private and on our last channel because that was working, and then we got a strike on a video that was on private, so now I just delete them right off of YouTube. If there is, I thought private was okay, but
Well, we did talk about the pedophile stuff, so yeah,
I
it's
don't
still
care.
alive.
I've never got a strike on that as of
Really?
yet. It's always just been medical misinformation. So that's the one that I don't know if it's me that they're targeting or everybody else, but that seems the big one. I know some people have got some strikes for election integrity at one point when you questioned the official results of the election. People got strikes on that. I don't think we ever did. Every one of our 7 channels that have been deleted have all been strikes because of medical misinformation, they call it. And most of the strikes were because of doctors speaking, real medical doctors speaking out against their stories about what happened. And or other people have talked about their families, someone, their loved one that got it, and then all of a sudden they passed on. And we're not giving anyone any medical information here. You need to do your own research. We're just here providing information, and you have to make the best decision for you. We're not telling anybody what they should or they shouldn't do with themselves or their bodies.
Okay, that does remind me. There's one last thing I would like to say. If you got injured by the thing that happened during 2020, 2021, the please, this information is applicable. So find me on Onionhead Andrew and reach out to me. There is things that can be done.
Sleeping Giant says, can you ask Andrew what a black glove means?
Is that a Freemason term?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But Sleeping Giant's got a lot of interesting information. Mike's, I've watched hundreds of interviews. That's amazing. We actually calculated it out. And if you were to watch every Missing Link live since the beginning, and you were watching it 24 hours a day, it would take you 88 days to watch all of our shows 24 hours a day, or it'd take 263 days to watch it 8 hours a day. So it'd almost take you a full year to watch our shows if you had a full-time job watching it. So we've got a lot of interesting content up there. We have Raw Dirt says, what about dental anesthetics?
I have no idea.
Like the freezing. He's just probably maybe wondering if there's maybe is it dental safe? I've still been, using the dentist. I don't seem to have a problem. I've had a few teeth that have been fixed. Using it. I'm on a complete no fluoride plan with my dentist. I haven't done fluoride toothpaste in probably maybe 10 years. I don't even know, probably longer. And they have a strict, they cannot use any fluoride products on me. I haven't gone and done the actual research on what the freezing is. I've been meaning to ask them, can you tell me what that product is that you're using to freeze me with? Because I'd like to know if there's the mRNA technology. So and every dentist is different. So if you're concerned about that raw dirt, you ask your dentist, what is the product that they're using to freeze? Can you please tell me exactly what that is? And then do a research on that product to seeing if there are mRNA that is put into the freezing. And that would be your best, instead of just asking some random people if you think that it's in it or not. You can do the research yourself, ask your dentist what it is they freeze you with, and then do research on that product yourself.
I do know that they are putting the nano machinery into as many things as possible, especially medical industrial supplies. And then also a lot of corporate food supplies, pre-prepared foods have got the synthetic biology filaments in them. And I'm not going to name the fast food companies, but it's exactly who you would think, for your sake, just in case, because sometimes, litigation is thrown around.
Joanne says, I need the mercury removed. That would be one of the first things that I would do if I ever had any mercury fillings. I would get them removed. I know that the mercury is leaching into the body, and you're getting mercury toxicity. So it could affect your brain. It could affect other things. So if I've had a mercury, I would get them out myself. I'd even remove the tooth if I had to. I'd rather have no tooth than a mercury filled tooth. But again, we're not giving anybody any medical information. You just decide what you want best to do with yourself. I just know that I wouldn't want any mercury in me.
That mercury is making you more magnetic, just to bring that full circle. All of those transitional metals, when you ingest them in any quantities, it makes you more magnetic.
I heard they put something in anesthesia. I don't know if it's true. Again, there's a lot of fear mongering. There's a lot of people that say things that they don't actually have proof. There's a lot of people that say or do things because they want likes, clicks, or things like that to scare, yo, this is going on. So, to really know, you have to do the research yourself. And if you hear somebody, like if you heard me or Onionhead here say it, and then you go repeat it everywhere without doing the research yourself, that's you're not being factual. You could be bearing false witness. You could be, do the research, especially if you're repeating things, right? Because that's the best way for you to know. Like I said, I don't know exactly what's in the dentist. I've heard that as well, that some people, that they have mRNA in it, but I haven't seen anything credible about it, and I haven't done the research myself, so I can't tell you. Even though I heard it in, I can't tell you that it is or that isn't. Roger, it says graphene for sure. Again, not sure. Do the research, and then if you have some type of evidence, those are the best things to be able to share with people.
And then on the Onionhead Andrew Rumble channel, I actually have proved that there's graphene in the food and the drinks at the store. So if you guys want proof of that, it's pretty obvious, though. I think most people know magnetic meat's not right.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I stopped eating meat. It's been 7 years, maybe 8 years now that I stopped eating meat, and I haven't had a cold or a flu since I stopped eating meat. And I used to get sick once or twice every year.
What do you what do you do for your calories? You get beans?
Well, beans are good. There's lots of, see, the thing it's a misnomer is that, the animals that most people eat for protein get their protein through vegetables, through, through plant based, right? Most of the animals that people eat are plant based. So they're actually getting what it takes to build them. And then people are getting that protein that they're getting. So, A lot of fruits and vegetables. I just stopped on the wheat, the gluten and the wheat. So
Oh, yeah.
right now I'm on no meat, no wheat, no dairy, no processed sugar. So
Well, hey, check this out. Buy wheat kernels. You can get them from any feed store
hmm,
because that's what they feed cows and horse and pigs and whatnot. And it's totally fine to eat. It's well, I shouldn't be saying that. I don't do your own research. But if you take a kernel of wheat, which is the seed, right? The seed of
the
the
wheat
wheat.
berry, I think they're called wheat berries.
Yeah, they're called wheat berries, yeah. And you grind it up and then you mix it with water. What you've got there is flatbread.
Hmm.
And that's the manna that the Bible is talking about, where it says you can live off only bread if it weren't for your spirit. If your spirit didn't need to be nourished, you could live off only bread. That's what it means. Eating seeds, that's what I was going to say to you, is seeds are such a potent source of everything you could need. I, over the last, I don't know, year and a half, something like that, I've bought in bulk amounts of this stuff and I just live off of it. Practically nothing else but oats and, like I said, livestock feed. So do whatever you're going to do, but the bread you get at the store, it's got the majority of the wheat berry taken out of it. You're only
Yeah, the
getting
milling process. What they
yeah.
did was the iodine was taken out of bread during the milling process,
Mhm.
and and the most of the nutrients is taken out. So that's why it's called the wheat belly, and people are getting sick from wheat and bread and pasta. That's
Yeah.
why you go eat some of this stuff in like Italy or in Thailand or some other places. It's not the same as like it's done here. Like when I got stuck in Thailand. I lost like 20 pounds and I was like, I had a broken foot and I was stuck.
Oh,
I'd crashed my motorbike through a lawyer's office window and I broke my heel in two places in
that
Thailand.
sucks.
So I was stuck on Koh Phangan, Full Moon Party Island. I was
Mhm.
there for 3 months and I lost like 20 pounds and I was just eating. That's when I stopped eating meat,
Mhm.
for the first time. And but the stuff here in North America in these NATO countries
Mhm.
mostly are not very good and like lots of glyphosate like again the oats is really bad for glyphosate,
Mhm.
things like that, so you have to be weary and careful, but I'm also of the belief that no weapon formed by man shall prosper, so I
Mhm.
just have good feelings about the things I'm putting into my body. I make the best choices,
Mhm.
whether if I was eating meat or whether or not. I don't think about it harming me. I think about this nourishing me, and I
Mhm.
think the mentally connecting with your food in a positive way is going to have a much more impactful no matter what it is. You can eat chocolate cake and think it's the best thing for you and it's going to be a lot better than if you think, oh no, I shouldn't be eating this chocolate cake, then maybe it's not going to respond so well with your body.
I think God will guide you to eat the chocolate cake correctly too. If you need to live off chocolate cake, you know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
going to be like, eat once every however long,
And
and then
grab
that's
the real cocoa and use whatever natural cane, unprocessed sugar, and you would be guided to do it right. I truly believe that as well. Okay, well, thanks again for coming here. On to tomorrow. Like I mentioned, we got Thomas Haviland tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. He's going to be talking about the fibrous um, fibers thingies that they're pulling
white
out the
fibrous
clots,
clots.
white
Yeah.
fibrous clots, the things. He's got a lot of evidence. He's a 20-year Air Force veteran. So you're going to be hearing from someone who, was from the military industrial complex, that's been doing deep dives into research on this stuff. And he's got actual some graphs, some evidence, some pictures and things coming from morticians that we're going to be talking about. That's tomorrow on the Missing Link Live.
The Air Force is kind of the nexus of the deep state military operations too. But there's lots of people involved. It's been a real pleasure, Jesse. I really appreciate your time.
What about the fear mongering of the vax being the mark? I don't know how I found you guys. Good conversations. I don't think it's the mark of the beast. Again, a lot of people think a lot of different things. Some people think that, you can't buy or sell without the mark. They don't have that, as in with these injections. I think it was more of them wanting to, convert people into this biodigital convergence when they're wanting to amalgamate people with, with this technology, with the Borgs, become programmable, hackable, and by putting metals in body, putting metal into the body, and putting these self-assembling nanobots or whatever in. And I think that was a big part of what these injections were. But they're doing that through the food, air, and the water. So even if you didn't get the injection, you're breathing in the air of the stuff that's being sprayed in the sky. You're still breathing this stuff in. So it's important to detox. So we talked about this earlier on in the show. I don't think it's the mark of the beast, but anybody can think what it actually is. But my personal take, that's not what it was.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think the book of Revelations is kind of like a playbook that they're trying to fill. It's up to, like Jesse was saying. I think if you have faith in God, and you do what's right, is right, then you'll be guided through this. Your understandings will come to you. And who am I, right? Like who am I? Who is Jesse? We're all on our own journeys to experience this life, to grow into it as best as we can. But you got to
100%.
do it. You got to do it. And that's the thing. It's like hearing your story, Jesse, about Thailand or Mexico. It's like you're out there doing it. And it's funny how whenever I'm talking to people that are like actively engaged in the fight, they've all done it. They've all been out there and they've done what other people would call stupid or bad or irresponsible things to a certain degree. Or, you know what I mean? They've experienced life in its entirety. And they've come to understand things at a deeper level because they weren't afraid and they went out and lived it. And that's what I think, that's like a thing that people really need to break out of their trance. If you're going to be bad, be bad. If you're going to be good, and do it as best as you can. Don't be lukewarm, and live your experiences and learn from them. Right.
And Mike Smith, and I know a lot of other people, and Angeline are going to do this as well. Definitely going to try the copper wire on the fan. I have everything I need to do it. That's amazing, Mike. And everybody that does do it, please let us know how it's working, if you're feeling any effects of it.
It's going to take some time to feel the effects, but instantly you'll notice chemtrails starting to break apart around your property.
People find out through traumas too. Okay, so we're going to end this now. Thanks again. We'll book Onionhead back. It was great meeting you. May the source be with you and protection around you during this pivotal time in history. Sounds like it is, from the stories we've heard so far. Let's all face infinity without flinching, for one love, one heart, one life. Namaste, everyone. And if they ever ask you to put on a breathing inhibitor again, Onionhead, you know what to say?
No friggin' way.
No maske.
I rhymed though. I was pretty close.
You were close. I like that. Awesome. You guys all have a great weekend. We'll see you next time we see you. We're back tomorrow on the Missing Link Live. We see you there. If not, have an awesome weekend wherever you're on the world. Be happy, be full of love, and know that God is on your side. If you truly want it, just believe and know that you are aligned with the Almighty.
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I woke up this morning on my horizon, 3 little birds were on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melody blowing true. And they said, this message is you.